One of the Bible's most well-known verses of Scripture concerning worship comes from Romans chapter 12:1. We're commanded to present our bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is our spiritual worship. Worship is a response of remembrance that is fully conscious of the mercies of God. A life of worship is a life laid down for the purposes and glory of God. The song, "This Is Our Love," came from the verse in 1 John 3:16, which says this, "By this we know love, that He laid down His life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers." As the song was written, I reflected on why Jesus came and whom He came for. The why? Because of His obedience to God the Father. And for whom? Jesus demonstrated over and over that He was there for the lost and the broken. Jesus touched the untouchable. He healed the hopeless, and He called the rejected. Jesus' love was a love in action. He lived love. He spoke it and ultimately gave up His life because of it. Well, we know that love is true because it is written across the pages of Scripture and it is immortalized in the scarred hands and feet and side of Jesus. Because we know this love, we ought to lay down our lives and live it out as Jesus did. Over and over, Scripture shows us that God is intensely concerned for the widow, the orphan, the immigrant, and the poor. And if we don't possess that same burden, it's an indicator that something in our hearts is not right. But when we turn to God in the surrender of worship, our hearts can be made right. In worship, we regain a true and biblical perspective on the world we live in. Worship gives us a glimpse of the kingdom under the reign of Christ, kingdom life, and He calls us to live out that message of His lordship for those who suffer under the reign of sin. Well, we know that God's love is a generous love. We know His grace is abundant, and we're to love because we have been loved. Walking with God is a walk of doing justice, and doing justice is a way of life. It flows from an understanding of the grace that we have received and the grace that we, in turn, are commanded to give. Serving the poor honors God, so let your life and your words tell of His kindness and His salvation. My prayer is that we would more deeply know the love of God that's vast beyond comprehension, and that we would be enabled with the heart of compassion to live it out as God's agents of healing and reconciliation.
For the world you loved, for the world you came, for the world you gave your life away, for the least of these, for the lost in need, for the last you gave your life away. This is our song of love, this is our offering, we give our lives away. This is our love, shout it out loud. We want the world to know your kindness, laying them down, living it out, giving our lives to see you magnified, our King. Lord, you hear the cries of the ones in need. Lord, you've come to bring them life again. Lord, you feel the pain of the suffering. Send us out to love them in your name. This is a song of love, to broken hearts we sing, we give our lives away. This is our love, shout it out loud. We want the world to know your kindness, laying them down, living it out, giving our lives to see you magnify, our King. He
has shown us what is good and what the Lord requires of us, to act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with our God. Justice and mercy, let your kingdom come. Justice and mercy, let your will be done. God of justice and mercy, let your kingdom come. God of justice and mercy, let your will be done. This is our love, shout it out loud. We want the world to know your kindness, laying them down, living it out, giving our lives to see you magnified. This is our